Okay, Amra, what we gonna learn today? The topic is K nearest neighbor. So the short form of this like KNN, right? KNN, K nearest neighbor. Okay. So what is this algorithm? So in this lecture, mainly the like what is wrong here. In this lecture, I'm gonna discuss about two problems. The main two problems normally occurred in our like research arena. One is classification, another is regression problem. So in my previous lecture, I also delivered or provided one lecture also. That lecture was also about classification and regression. So today I'm going to repeat another algorithm. The algorithm is used for classification and regression problem, and the name of this algorithm is K nearest neighbor. Okay, so maybe we can repeat about the machine learning. So what is machine learning? Machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence, right? Which provides machines the ability to learn automatically and improve from previous experience without being explicitly programmed. So I already told you many times the definition of machine learning. So the major part of machine learning is about data. So machine learning is all about data, right? So what you have to do in machine learning, you have to feed the machine with data and make a model and predict, right? So this is the main important things. You should have some data, okay? And you have to feed the machine with data. Using the data, you have to make a model, okay? And after having the model, you have to predict the model. And also, you have to check the accuracy of the prediction, okay? So this is all about the machine learning mechanism or machine learning techniques. So the most common thing is like feed with more data and the model becomes more accurate accordingly. So as I told you many times, the main limitation of machine learning is that if your data set is very small or the sample size is very small, sometimes it's very difficult to perform machine learning algorithms. Although the machine learning algorithms is very powerful tools, I told you many times, but if your sample size is small, the accuracy then becomes questioned, right? So machine learning has the ability to analyze correctly, no doubt about that, and no question about that. But there is a limitation of machine learning algorithm is that if the data size is very small, then it's very difficult to predict using the machine learning algorithm. So it's normal because you have to split the data in training and test data, right? Suppose you have 100 data, then you are going to split the 100 data into 70% and 30%. So if your data size is very small and then you are going to split the small data set, then ultimately the data set will be splitted into two data sets. So small data set is going to be splitted again, so it will be more smaller, right? So machine learning will not give you the accurate prediction then, because for the machine learning the data set should be big, and if the data set is big enough, then the data set have definite pattern, right? So a lot of patterns, so the machine learning can predict. Normally prediction means like you are going to predict that several years, right? For several years, you want to predict something for Bangladesh, for the betterment of Bangladesh, like the Bangladeshi economy. So what you can do, like you can predict for 2040, right? 2050, 2060. Now it's 2021. So you cannot predict. You cannot predict like 2022. You can predict, but it does not make any sense. For the national policy, for the development of a country, we need to predict for the long-term prediction as far as the development is concerned. But if you used to predict for a small range, right, I think it's not related with the national policies of any country. So normally prediction should be like for the larger scale, right? So that's why the reason is might be like that. Machine learning works better if your data set is big enough, or for the large data set, machine learning is going to predict accurate or better prediction than the traditional. So what you have to do, you have to feed with more data and the model becomes more accurate accordingly. So you can see the picture here. So what is the name? The name is like KNN, nearest neighbor, right? So neighbor, nearest neighbor. So if you can take a look in the picture, first picture, so suppose this is 1 point, this is 1 point, so this is another, this one another, and so these are suppose one group of objects, right? So this is the another group of objects, right? So now suppose you want to classify one class from here. So what you can classify? Definitely the class will be here. Why? So it measures a distance. You see the nearest distance. The nearest distance. Also in the mechanism, you have to use the parameter like how many for what number of k. So k is equal to 1 here, k is equal to 3, suppose k is equal to 4. So what point you are going to select? You are going to select this one because the distance is very small from here. Okay, and also the k value is like the minimum. So for k is equal to 1, you are gonna classify a new object, and this object, the distance is very like near, right? The distance is very close. So the name suggests like k nearest neighbor. The name is nearest neighbor, right? The closest one. So you are going to classify the closest one. So say another picture, I think this one is the classified object, this one is the classified object, because this one is near from the both data set, right? This one also near the both data set. So you are going to predict this class. So this is all about the KNN algorithm. So what is KNN algorithm? So k nearest neighbor, you see, k nearest neighbor is a supervised learning algorithm. So this is a supervised learning. That means the input is leveled as well, like our previous decision tree algorithm that classifies a new data point into the target class. So your target class is the new data point. So for the target class, you need input. So the target, hey, class nichito. So the target class should depend on the features of its neighboring data points, right? So this picture, I think, can clearly explain the definition of k nearest neighbor. So let's look at the student data set with GPA and GRE scores. So today we are gonna solve two problems specially. So one problem is related with the GPA and GRE scores for classification problem. So this one data set we are going to use for today's problem. Another problem is the Boston housing data. You already know this data. So one data will be used for the classification problem. Another data, the last one, will be used for the regression problem. So KNN algorithm is used for regression and classification. So today we are going to see the function of KNN algorithm, how it works for the classification and regression purposes. So as I told you, the name k nearest neighbor. So there are some measures. These are called the similarity measure. Similarity. Okay, or distance measure. Distance. Both words can give you the same idea. Similarity, the objects are similar, like that means very close, and the distance is very close, so that object you can select. So KNN algorithm uses normally some similarity measures or distance measure for calculating the distance between k neighbors, and some of the variables have different magnitudes. So standardization is important, right? Because when you are going to use many variables in your statistical model or mathematical model or machine learning model, so every variable like might have different magnitudes. In fact, in reality, you will find all the variables, like different variables must have different magnitude. Not must have, normally they will have different magnitude. So what do you have to do? Because the different variables have different units. So if you want to conclude, if you want to analyze from those variables, so what you have to do, you have to change the unit. That means you have to standardize your variables. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult to estimate those variables or estimate the effect of those variables. Anyway, so some of the popular application of KNN is recommendation system, loan approval. Suppose the banking system want to take some decision like long-term decision in 2050, how many customers or how many companies, how many organizations they can provide the loan facilities, right? So maybe they can use the KNN algorithm for this kind of prediction or classification. So this one will be the classified problem, whether they will approve the loan, yes or no, right? So this is a classification problem. Anomaly detection, it can be classification and regression, both. Like, is there any anomaly detection? Yes. If there is no, then it will be no. You can also use the same problem for regression. How many anomaly was there? So number, it could be categorized as the regression problem, right? So text categorization, it can be definitely I think classification problem. Maybe finance, it can be classification, regression, both. Medicine, it can be classification and regression, both. Anyway, these are the some of the popular application of KNN algorithm, right? So this is the literature behind the what should I say, like behind the KNN algorithm. Now we can solve the real life problems. As I told you, two data set, right? One is GP and GRE scores for classification problem, and another data set is Boston housing data for a regression problem, right? So now we are gonna solve the problem. কোনো কোশ্চেন আছে?
না স্যার।
কোনো কোশ্চেন নেই? কেন কোশ্চেন? কোনো কোশ্চেন নেই?
না স্যার।
Are you sure? বললাম are you sure?
শিওর স্যার।
তাহলে আমাকে এখন আমাকে বলো এই পর্যন্ত কি শিখলে? What did you learn so far?
The major part of machine learning, k-nearest neighbor algorithm and machine learning, similarity distance measure.
Then
এগুলো তো মনে আছে বলতো, পরে ভিডিও দেখবো স্যার।
পরে কি দেখবে?
এই ভিডিওটা আবার দেখবো স্যার।
আচ্ছা, আচ্ছা তোমরা কি আমি যখন পড়াচ্ছি তোমরা কি প্র্যাকটিস করছো না? মানে ল্যাপটপ নিয়ে বসো না?
স্যার ল্যাপটপে তো আছে স্যার।
মানে কোডগুলি প্র্যাকটিস করো না?
জি স্যার। এজন্য স্যার রেকর্ড করে রাখি যাতে সবাই দেখতে পারে।
আচ্ছা, গিটহাবের নাম শুনেছো কেউ? গিটহাব?
জি স্যার, শুনছি স্যার। গিটহাব হচ্ছে একটা লাইব্রেরির মতো কাজ করে। ওখানে কিছু প্যাকেজ থাকে যেগুলো আমরা মেশিন লার্নিং এর জন্য হয়তো আমাদের কিছু ডেটা সেট বা অনেক টুলস লাগে যেগুলো আমরা ওখান থেকে ডাউনলোড করে মেশিন লার্নিংটা করতে পারি।
Really?
আমার প্রবলেম অডিও যেন কেমন আসছে?
অডিও কেমন আসছে?
স্যার আপনি কি দুইটা ডিভাইস থেকে আসছেন বা এরকম কোনো প্রবলেম হয়তো?
হ্যাঁ,
যেমন মাইকে
স্যার আপনার কথাগুলো ইকো করতেছে।
রিপিট করছে স্যার।